So if,
Yeah, I'll turn it off.
okay. So this is a package. It just came in. It's been a long time that we had a lot of problems. I can go into those, but I don't waste your time with that. But they're out. They're out now. Half of them are out, and the other half are coming in 2 weeks. Like I say, we've been working on it for a long time. Basically, what the main difference between this is an old TIU that we've had for years, and there's been a lot of versions of this TIU and software updates and that type of thing. But the biggest difference now is you can, if you have an old TIU, you buy this box and you can plug it into this, and you pretty much have what the new TIU has, with the following exceptions. So if you have an old TIU and you're not into G gauge or HO, because this new TIU can take these variable channels. There's 2 variable channels here. They're independent channels, and you can vary DC power with the new TIU. The old TIU is only AC power, and that's for conventional engines. So you can run with your old TIUs, you can run all your old Line L, your old American Flyer, anything that ran on AC, you can run with this old TIU. The new TIU now, you can use it as a remote transformer and run conventional HO engines, G gauge engines, and that's our main focus because we're into the G gauge. So now guys can run with the TIU, can run our engines on the same track with LGB, Charles Rose stuff, because they're all running on DC. So that's a big difference. The other big difference is the new TIU, you'll be able to do these upgrades. I just upgraded this gentleman's TIU with my computer. You had to do it with the computer and an app, and connect it to the computer. Now the new TIU, you'll be able to go into the app, go into upgrades, hit upgrades, it goes out to the internet, and it will upgrade your TIU automatically. You'll be able to take and use your phone and play music on your phone and play Christmas carols out of your train. You won't have to plug in a CD player or a DVD or whatever you used before. I use a CD player at my house for under my Christmas tree, and you can play Christmas music out of the train while it goes around the tree rather than the chuffing and puffing. When you get the, I don't know how many people here now have DCS, okay, and how many are doing it Wi-Fi? With the Wi-Fi box. Okay, so you guys have the app. The first thing you're going to need to do is go to your, if you don't have the app, is on your phone, is get the app either through the Play Store, which is the Android or Google Play Store, or the Apple, you go to the Apple Store and get the app. It's free app, MTH DCS is what you search. You download the app, and after this, if anybody needs any help doing that, you have to know your password. I run into that a lot. Guys come in there with their phone and say, yeah, can you put the app on the phone? And I said, what's your password? And they look like, they stare at me, I don't know, my wife set that up. So you got to have your password. Now the new ones, I just look at your face, you can double click it on and download the app. But download the app. Now the app that you're downloading is the free version of the app, and the free version means you can run the basic, you can run your trains, blow the horn, ring the bell, your basic couplers and all those settings. But if you want to get into the advanced features, in the app at the bottom right hand corner it says more and the app settings, and you can upgrade the app for $25 to upgrade the app, and that's how Google and Apple all make their money. But you upgrade the app to the premier version, and once you do that, all the phones that you have on your account for that login name will get the app for the same amount. You don't have to buy the app for each phone or each iPad. If you have an Apple ID and you have 5 iPads in your house, and your kids have the phones on the phone plan, and your wife has the phone, all those phones for $25 will upgrade. If you have the app now and you're running it, when you put the newest version in, it may say, oh, you need to buy it again. Don't buy it. Go up to the top right hand corner and hit refresh. It'll refresh it and it'll say, oh, that's right, you bought it, and it'll tell you the date that you bought it. For some reason, Apple and Google, with the newest versions of their app, whatever version you have on your phone, they're doing that. So you just have to refresh. Don't go and say, hey, I already bought it. You just hit the refresh and you'll be fine. So you get the app, and then you'll have the new TIU. And again, just to go over the hardware a little bit, there's 4 independent channels. Each one is rated at 10 amps. There's a 10 amp fuse inside each. There's 4 10 amp fuses in here. There's 6 screws on the bottom. If you ever do put more than 10 amps and blow the fuse, it's an automotive fuse. You can get it anywhere, automotive store, or you don't even have to, now they sell them everywhere, but you just pull it out and put in another 10 amp fuse. So the reason for independent channels is you can run 4 separate loops of track. You can, if you got a huge layout, you can divide the layout in half and run one channel to one half of the layout, one to the other half. You may want to do that if you have a lot of, say, passenger cars with incandescent lights and you're pulling a big long train, so when the cars are in one half of the layout and you triple head the engines and they go in the other, that way you can split it up. So I've seen layouts big enough that they split it in 4s and use multiple channels just for one loop of track. With the TIU, that you can use up to 5 TIUs, so you can get 20 different loops of track. And when you do that, you have to change the ID of each TIU. So TIU 1, TIU 2, and when you go into the app, there's a TIU setup setting that way you can change the address on the TIU. And the way to know if you change the address on TIU, there's a little hole here. He's got the little tape here, but you look down that little hole and the light will blink. When you get it, they're all set at factory setting is 1, so you'll just see it blink once when you power it up. So if you power it up and you want to say you got 3 TIUs, which one is it, and it blinks 2 times, that's TIU number 2. It'll tell you, so you know what the address is. The outside channels are the variable channels. I talked a little bit about that. The new TIU, again, can do DC. This one, the old one, just does AC, but you put power in, and then you tell it how many volts you want it to go out. The app, and I'll show you that, where it does that is basically a remote transformer. You're talking to the track. So you're telling it how many volts you want to let out, and it'll run conventional trains. You can run digital trains through there also. It also puts a digital signal on track, so you can run both conventional and digital at the same time. Now, if you're going to do that, get your conventional engine running, and you have to have a pretty big layout because they're hard to control. They don't have speed control. So you set the speed that you want on the conventional engine, and then you get the command engine running. You can switch over to the command engine and get it running, and you can start running in, and you just try to regulate the speed, and always use the command engine because you can easily stop and start and speed up the command engine versus the conventional engine. But that can be done if you want to. Or you can use one output. One of these 2 middle ones are fixed channels, and all that happens there is you put, say, 18 volts in, 18 volts comes out the other side, but a digital signal gets added onto that. If you're running all digital, you can go in, there's a setting to change these variables to fixed, so you can have 4 fixed channels on each TIU. On the ends, you have a power input, which there's a transformer that comes with this, and you got to power up the TIU. And if you have a layout where you have a switch and you turn everything on at the same time, put something separate. You got to plug in this and turn the power on the TIU first so it boots up, because there's no digital signal going to be coming on until this thing boots up out to the track. So you turn the power on the TIU, all the lights will come on, they'll blink, and they'll look for what the Wi-Fi, send out the Wi-Fi signals. If you're, and I'll talk to you about that, hook up to your home network, it'll find your home network, and then it's ready to go. So you need to power that thing up. The other port, this one has a RS-232. This is an old one. The new TIUs has a USB port on there. And that USB port, or this RS-232, before we use that to upgrade the TIUs, you can connect to your computer. The other purpose of it is to hook up, if anybody's running Lionel TMCC. There's a cable, and you have this cable, and you hook this cable up to the Lionel TMCC box, and then with the old TIU, you'd hook it to this, and you're running digitally the Lionel trains. This is the only system in the marketplace that can run MTH digitally, Lionel digitally, and conventional, all your conventional AC trains. Now you'll be able to run all your AC trains and all your DC trains. So this system, the only thing the system doesn't do yet is DCC, But after that, it will be able to run everything, every model train there is out in the marketplace, and that's our.
Mike, how do you
goal.
hook up the new Lionel Base 3?
The base 3
Yeah.
is you're going to still use this cable, and I'll get the other the USB on here. There's going to be a pigtail adapter cable that plugs into the USB that you'll be able to plug into this, but you'll still use this cable. You still need this cable. The other cable won't be out for a month and a half. So if you have TMCC, you're not going to, and you just got your Wi-Fi TIU, you're not going to be able to hook up the command base yet until that cable comes out. So you'll be able to order that cable from them, and then you'll be able to hook that up.
Mike, the new cat base still, that cable works for?
Yes, yes, that still works. The
That comes in the box or? that's
no,
separate?
this is a separate item. It's
Okay.
but they sell those too. So you get the for the USB port, you'll be able to hook up your Lionel. The other thing that you'll be able to do, and I don't know, there's no young kids here, so all you guys know what this is. The kids don't know what this is. This is for the handset and your old telephone in your house.
Yeah.
So the handset cable.
Yeah.
That's what plugs into the bottom of the base of the remote. No longer are you, with this TIU, are you going to be able to use your old remote without the wire tethered. And the reason is the old remotes have a RF signal. Nobody's using RF anymore. You go to try to buy an RF communication board, which is in the old TIUs and in the remote, and they look at you, they don't make that anymore. It's Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Everything's moving that way. RF is, the signals are FCC approved and in that bandwidth, and they communicate, you get cross communication. It's not as reliable as the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi, so everybody's going away from that. So we can't make the old remote anymore. Besides that, the screen has gone out because everybody's going to touch screens and color screens, and so we can't buy the screen, and we can't buy the microprocessor, and we can't buy the RF board. So we'd have to design a whole new remote to do that. But I don't know, I know there's people out there that just love that remote, but to use your phone or an iPad or tablet is so much more user-friendly to have a speedometer like that you can get yourself a tablet, a used tablet. That's what I'd recommend. You don't have to go out and buy a $300-400, $500 tablet, an iPad or a tablet. You can go on eBay and buy the 2-year-old version, which is just as good and just as, as far as the color of the screen, you're not watching movies here, and leave this at your train layout, and you can use that for your controller. Anybody who comes over to your house with the app system, that most everybody has a phone now. Your grandkids got phones, and they know how to use them. They download the app, and they can start. You can assign a train to them, and they can start running a train. So any of your friends that come over, they can hook up to your TIU and start playing with trains. So it's you can more than, if you have one remote, then you're the only guy, or you pass the remote around, it's going to be able to enjoy it. On the other end of you have the this was the TIU. You have the what we call, I'm going to show it to you on this box, because the MTH and home button. First thing you're going to do, and I strongly recommend it, first thing you do is hook it to your home network. And there's 2 ways to hook it to your home network. On the end of this TIU, this is the same as this, because this box is basically incorporated in here, as I said. There's a WPS button. WPS is to pair it up with your home modem. So most modems have the WPS, but some of them don't. So there's another way to do it. If you don't have push this button and push the one on your remote while this is powered up, and they'll connect to each other, the Wi-Fi TIU and your home modem. That's the easiest way. And there's a switch here. You got to switch to home. The other way is MTH. And the MTH way, let's say you don't have internet service at your house, you don't have Wi-Fi, you flip it to the MTH version, and when you go on your phone or the iPad, you go into the settings and you go to your Wi-Fi settings, and then you'll see an MTH box, and that's your box, and you connect directly to the box. So now your phone is communicating directly to the box. The downside of that is if you're connected to this box, you have no more internet service. So then you're no longer connected to your home Wi-Fi. You can still have your regular cell service, but you're no longer have internet access using your home network. So the best thing to do is hook it up to your home network, get it connected there, then when you walk in your house, it connects automatically, you're hooked to the internet, and you're also hooked to the box. Now you can be up in the bedroom, and your train layout's down in the basement, and you can start up the trains wherever you have Wi-Fi in your house. You'll be able to start the trains and run the trains from there. And then like you go through walls, the distance is much better as far as the Wi-Fi versus and through your home network. So wherever you have coverage in your home with the home network, you'll be able to run the trains. Okay, so let's go to the app. That's pretty much the hardware side of it. When you get your app, the first thing you're going to do is want to add an engine. And up here, this one has the engine in it, but you're going to hit the engine button to add an engine. And I have an active list, and so the only engine I have right now loaded on here is that engine there. So it's showing active because there's power to it and it sees it. There's an inactive list, so if you got 15 trains and they're all on the wall and you got 5 on the layout and you power this thing up, it'll go out and say, you know, who's out there, and all the trains that are out there will say, I'm out here, I'm out here, I'm out here. They'll go active, and all the trains that are not on the layout seeing power will be inactive. And so if you switch a train and hit it refresh, it'll go out there and say, oh, this train's out here now, and it'll go to active, and the other one will move down to inactive that you took off the layout. So basically, our trains are smart trains. They know who they are. They can tell you. We have bi-directional communication from the train to the TIU, and both of them are talking to each other. This is also where you can, when you add an engine, it'll ask you, do you want to add an MTH engine, or you want to add a TMCC engine? Like I said, if you hit MTH, it'll automatically go out there and say, any new engines out there? And this guy says, I'm out here, and all its features, everything will load up, how many miles it has on it, how many hours it has on it. Everything about that train will load up, all its special sounds will load up into your phone or the iPad. If you add a TMC, and I like to say, our engines are smart engines, the Lionels are dumb engines. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they are. You have to tell them everything. So you're going to take the Lionel. You're going to have to name it. Doesn't know its name. You're going to have to name that Lionel engine. Whatever the name is, you're going to have to tell it what address you have that Lionel engine set at. You tell it that. You're going to tell it whether it's a diesel or a steam, whether it's TMC or legacy, whatever they are. So once you set the engine up, then it's by the name. Now, when it goes out there, one of your engines is just another name. So you got a whole list of engines and names. You know, you don't have to do anything more about telling it's a Lionel. So when you hit the Lionel engine and send a command to it, all it does is go into the TIU and say, oh, you're a Lionel, goes through that cable, goes to the Lionel box, and the Lionel box is what communicates with, you still need the Lionel legacy system. That's what communicates to the engine. That's the proprietary thing Lionel has, but they put a computer port on there so that people could make their own computer programs on, and so we made a computer program and are talking to it. Okay, so we go back after you add an engine. Now at the top, your basic things are on the front: the bell, the whistle, the direction, and your speed. So if I hit the start up, there's a couple ways to change the speed. You can touch up to the speed that you want, and the train will go at that speed. You can go up by 1 scale mile per hour increments, or you can just grab the speedometer and go. So you run the train that way, blow the horn, ring the bell. It's very simple, very intuitive. So those are your basic functions. You hit this down button, now you have your couplers, your front coupler, your rear coupler, headlights, smoke, engine sound. Let me go back to turn the noise on. So you can turn your headlight off, your smoke off, engine sounds off. You got PFA, that's passenger or freight announcements, that you can go into the 4 sequences and it'll go one at a time, and you tell it when to go to the next sequence and play the different passenger freight announcement, every MTH Protosound 2, Protosound 3 has all these things in it. All these features that I'm talking about, they've been in there in your train. So if you've been running them conventionally, you've been using 20% of what the train can actually do. It has Doppler sounds, and I like to call this one-shot Doppler. Doppler is when the train is coming to you, start hearing the train come to you, and it's at loudest point when it goes by you, and it goes away. Our Doppler is real Doppler. It's the mathematical formula that takes the dB level of the sound and the distance that the train is away, and it's a 1/4 inch to the foot. So every 1/4 inch to the foot, if at that dB level, whatever engine sound setting you have on that engine, you'll hear the engine, wow. Now one shot, it's not set up to do anywhere. So if I hit that, it'll do it on that, wherever the engine sound will turn off, and it'll increase, and then it'll decrease. So I'll show you later where you can set up a Doppler loop, and that's really you take the time to do that. And basically, if you have a loop of track, you have a starting point, you start the engine at that point and set the loop up to end at that point, and you push start, you drive it around there, you hit end. Now that's the point that it will be the loudest point. So that's where the 1/4 inch to the foot man, when you pretend you're down there, that you're going to be standing when that train comes around. So if you have a layout with 4 or 5 different loops of track, and you have all these trains running, it's noisy as all, you can set up a Doppler loop for one train here, one train here, one train there, one train there, and then people are walking around your layouts and they hear these trains coming by and whizzing by, and the loudest point where they're standing. So it's a fun feature to have. The bottom one is Protocast. Protocast is playing the music out of the train. So you can hit that, and whatever the music that you're playing, that's where you play the Christmas music that I talked about. You got rev up and rev down. On a diesel roar, when you have a diesel and you got 50 cars behind it, if you just took it off like out of the box, it's starting to rev up as it goes faster. Is what out of the factory. Well, that's not how the real trains go. They got to rev it up like an airplane engine to take off. They got to rev that diesel up to be able to pull that long line of cars. So you can rev the diesel up prototypically, and the smoke heats up harder and starts smoking like crazy, and then you take off, and the engine will take off, and so that's more prototypical than just out of the box and running the train. Rev down, you can do that. You can, if it's going down a hill, you can lower the rev sound of the engine there. You got boost and brake. That's a momentum feature. A lot of HO transformers have that. You hit the boost and the engine starts speeding up. You let it go to go back to the speed that you set it at. Brake, it'll slow it down so you can control the speed that way. You have the sound volume here. All the engines are set at 70% when they come out of the factory. You can raise the sound volume if you want to do that. So then up here there's three tabs. So that's the engine just operating an engine. The second one is all of the different sound features and light features and function features. Sound features, you got each engine has a forward signal. When they come to when they go forward, they have a toot horn and they're going forward. And backwards there's a reverse signal. They have a crossing signal. I think it's 3. I can't remember. It's been so long. I'm a little retired here. But it might be 3 toots before they hit the crossing. You can do that. The coupler slack, you can set that, and so when you do take the engine off from 0, you'll hear the coupler taking up the slack. You got coupler close when the coupler is closing. So if backing up to something, you'll hear the coupler close sound. The extended startup, extended shutdown. Custom sounds. You can record custom sounds. You can go and get a scanner and go down to the railroad, or even from here, you probably can hear it because you're close enough to the railroad, and get take a scanner and record those cab chatters or whatever they're talking about on the railroad, and save it and put it in as a custom sound, and then name that custom sound as the scanner from wherever railroad you were doing, and then you can play that out of the train as real. Or for fun stuff, you got a grandkid, you can have your wife, I know you guys won't do it, but your wife can sing happy birthday to your grandkid, and you can save that as a custom sound, drive the train up to your grandkid and play happy birthday to. So anything you can think of as far as a sound that you can record, and then like I say, you can name it and you can call it up anytime those sounds that you want. You got idle sequence sounds, different idle sequences while it's idling that you can play the sounds. Those are your station announcements, but you can play them one at a time if you only want to play one or two of them. Train wreck sounds. We've got train wreck sounds in every Proto Sound 2 and Proto Sound 3. That's a neat one to do when you got a little kid up there and they're reaching their hand up to the layout and you've got the train coming, you hit the train wreck sounds and they think they crashed the train, but that's neat. You got interior lights, number board lights, ditch lights. You can all turn those on or off. Each engine has an odometer. So how many miles this engine has on it. So this engine right here, brand new engine if anybody wants it, it's only got 1.93 scale miles on that engine right there. The number of hours, it has an odometer in it, a chronometer. That sat on the track for 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 49 seconds. Now, we came in here early, and we put that on the track, but that's how long that train has seen power. Now, the neat thing about that is, as far as the odometer, there's a maintenance setting in here, and you can set and say, okay, I want to oil my trains every 100 hours. And so when 100 hours comes up on that engine, it'll notify you, hey, you need maintenance on this engine, so you can oil that engine. You can set it at 50 hours, 70 hours, whatever you want. You can set that, and when you're running that train, it'll tell you, hey, it's time to oil me. You can use the train. It has a voltmeter in it, in the train, and I can take and say with this engine right here, there's 19.63 volts, and it actually, you can see, if people can see here, 19.42, 19.63, so the voltage is varying a little bit, but you can measure the volts on your track. So if you're building a new layout, it's fantastic because you can see if there's any voltage drops, and you might have to run a pair of wires to that area. So it has a voltmeter in it. Every Proto Sound 2, Proto Sound 3, the track signal, that's a great feature. That's your digital signal. And that's not always the same as voltage. So you can drive the train around as slow as you want and go to each section of the track, and the engine sound will go off and you'll hear a boom, like a beep, 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 beep. And every time it beeps, it'll send you what the track signal from 1 to 10 is on your layout. And for example, we were at Muffins and I drove around and everything was 10 except one little area, and he had a problem with the track. It was a 5. It kept hitting 5 in that area. So he might have a poor connection between the rail joiners or something like that, but you'll be able to find that with the track signal feature. It has, you can measure the route, you can measure your layout, how many scale miles it takes to go around the whole layout, or to, it has a trip odometer that you'll be able to, how many miles I ran tonight, so you can do that. You can set the trip odometer and then find it out and reset it. You got battery check for any of the Pro Sound 2s that'll check the battery on your train. So it has that feature. Then the third tab is as far as individual engine settings. So you can change the address of the engine. You can change, I don't think anybody would do this, but you can change the type of the engine if you want. The sound files for every engine is up on our website. You can download a different sound file. Keep in mind, the wheel diameter better be the same and the gear ratio better be the same, or the engine won't run right. So if you got another diesel and you say, I want to change the passenger, and it's an F3, you can go and get a passenger F3 off the website and put that sound file in your engine and change the sound file. You can edit your soft keys, the different custom sounds. You can put them in different orders. Your whatever the ones you use the most, you can put them on the top of the menu. You can change the engine volume from 0 to 100. You can lower the engine volume, so if you have a lot of trains running, you can lower the volume a little bit, but you keep your horn volume, you can change that, adjust that separately. Your bell volume, you might want to keep those high. The accent volume, where the cab chatter is, you can adjust those. So you got 4 different channels of sound that you can adjust. Brake sounds you can turn on, clickety-clack. Every engine that we make has clickety-clack in it. Clickety-clack is when you run the train at 30 miles an hour or over for 30 seconds or longer, then the clickety, when you turn that feature on, it'll start going ta-dum, ta-dum, ta-dum. So if you have a lot of trains running and it's noisy as heck, you can have a couple on the Doppler, you can have one on the clickety-clack, so when the train comes by, a passenger train, and with the passenger train, you'll hear sounds coming out of the engine talking about serving food and that type of thing. If it's a passenger engine, if it's a freight engine, you'll hear different sounds randomly as it comes out. So the clickety-clack, again, if you speed the train up, then it'll go to the rev again, and you keep it at 30 seconds at another speed that's higher than 30 miles an hour, and then clickety-clack will take over again.
It's neat for subways.
Yeah. In subways, they got the subways, different subway sounds coming out of it. You got cab chatter you can turn off and on. This is in here is the Doppler menu I talked about, where you can set up the Doppler loop. So in the setting area, you got the Doppler sound. You can set up automatic coupler slack. So every time your engine takes off, you hear the coupler slack sound. You got maximum speed. You can set, if you got a child there, you don't want them to run your trains at 120 miles an hour. You only want them to run at 30 miles an hour. You can set the maximum speed in that engine. So when that engine's running, no matter if it's running out on a conventional engine, it's running, it's set at that speed. So, you know, if you've set that, you might want, and you don't know why your engine won't speed up anymore, it could be that somebody set the maximum speed. You can direction lock, you can lock it forward, backwards. You can, with this, you can set up lash ups. So you take your engines, you want to run 4 engines at a time. You get to your head engine, you tell it, when you set it up, you tell it if it's going to run in the forward direction or the reverse direction. The reason you set the head engine up and then the tail engine and anything in between, the head and the tail engine will know what coupler to do. So then, after you create this lash up with 4 engines, say, you got the head engine, middle engine, then you name it, and then it runs as one train. So when you blow the rear coupler, it's the coupler on the rear of the train and the front of the train, and all the motors are in sequence and run as a lash up as one engine. So you just call it one engine, you don't have to call it all 4 engines. Okay, so that's all as far as the engine wise. Now at the top, that was just the engine features. The next one is the track, and that's what I talked about with the variable channels. This is basically a remote control transformer that you're going to run your conventional engines with. And so you just take this slider and go up and down, and you're putting, and it'll read track voltage. I don't have it plugged into the variable output, otherwise it would read it. You go in here and you set up which variable channel you're going to use. You can name that variable channel, so it could be your tin plate layout. And so you name it tin plate layout up here, and then when you go here and it knows what channel the TIU is and whatever you name that loop as, and then you can run your bell and your whistle. Again, you can go up to 1 volt at a time or down 1 volt at a time. The TZ is 0 voltage. It's like an emergency stop. Hit that and the voltage will go to 0 if you're about ready to wreck. The direction button, then you push that button again. You got the front coupler, the rear coupler, all your Pertusound 1 engines. You can blow the front coupler, rear coupler. The PFA is on the Pertusound 1. You can do the passenger station announcements there. So that's your track, and that's, like I say, for conventional track. And here you can, up here you would go to whatever track, how many tracks you have. You might have 5 TIUs, and so you'd have 10 variable channels, and you can pick which one you want. So you can set those up there. Switches and accessories. Before I show you on the switch and accessories here, that's your AIU. I can't tell you how many people buy the DCS system and they get the system, they start running it, they really love it, and everything. They forget all about the AIU. The AIU really brings a lot of life and fun to the layout, because this system can also do recordings for 3 15-minute sessions. So, or you can do one 30-minute or one 45-minute session and use your memory that way, and basically run your layout, whatever buttons you push, whatever engines you call up, whatever engines you start up, whatever switches you switch, whatever accessories you turn on, you do all that and you record it. And you name that, and then when your buddies come over, you can have a beer with them. You don't have to be sitting there working the layout, trying to turn everything on and show them this and show them that you have a scene set up that will just take off, and everybody will be able to enjoy the layout together. With the AIU, you have 10 switches and 10 accessories. Now, each one is rated at 10 amps, and you could wire multiple switches and multiple accessories on each channel up to 10 amps worth, and that's a lot of accessories, but you don't have individual control of them. So you can daisy chain up to 5 AIUs to each TIU. And remember, the system will talk to 5 TIUs, so you can have 25 AIUs. That would give you 250 switches and 250 accessories. I don't know, I haven't seen anybody have that many at this point. So it's very expandable. So if you have, the guy came by yesterday, he said he had 36 switches on his layout. He bought 4 of these. He's going to wire all the switches into the AIU. Now, the benefit of doing that is a couple. One, you can still keep your control panel. Everybody's got a control panel with all the switches on there. And usually what I see is when I get to these layouts, I see all these switches and they're all numbered. And then I see these little tags sitting on every switch motor, so they look on the layout, oh, that's switch 23, and you go over to switch 23 and do that. Well, it takes some time to do that before the train, so you usually have to stop the train, hit the switch, then go through the switch. With these, when you set this switch up, you're going to name the switch. So if the switch is by the bus station, that's my bus station switch, and the other one's by the gas station, my gas station, the other one's by the mountain, or siding 1, siding 2, siding 3, and this is one I really like. I mean, you build a nice big layout and you put sidings in the middle where you store your trains. You got to put your trains somewhere. So you keep your, daylight in one and J in another, and you got all these trains lined up. Now it takes, to get out of the middle of the layout, it might take 5 switches to get to the main line. So you can do you go siding 1 out, you name it that, and it's a macro. So you can take the 5 switches, program them in the direction they want to go, and then you name that siding 1 out. And so I want to get the train out of siding 1, hit that, all 5 switches go bap, 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 and the train runs out, start up the train and run it, and it runs out to siding 1. You want to put it away in siding 1, you put it away, which is all the opposite. The switches go siding 1 in, and then the train can run siding 1 back in. So you can, it's basically, we call those routes. So that's the route of the train. So those are macros that you're going to be able to set up and name as one of the switches or scenes. It's called a scene, a route at that point. You name that route, and you can call up those and do that. That's the benefit of this. The other, for the accessory wise, each accessory can either have an on, you set it for on off, which would be lights, and you could wire all the lights on your layout in one port of that, and so you can say turn the lights on, the street lights, and all the street lights come on. And now people walk around. One of the neat things about a train layout, and that's why when you go to museums you got those push buttons, because you get to see it, you're turning it on, you get to see it start up and go, rather than everything just running all by itself, and you walk around the layout and you see the fire station running, but you don't get to see the door come up and the truck start up and the dog starts barking and do it that way. With this, you can, like they have on off, they have a momentary activations, a pulsation that can go to an accessory. Then you name each accessory, and again, we have what is called a scene, and you can name a scene and say you walk around and you have a circus thing, and you have an industrial area, and you have Main Street, and you can say this is Main Street, and just the accessory, so the guy's walking around the layout and Main Street starts up, and then you go around the other side and you see him walking over there, and that's your circus, and you hit the circus, and then they see the circus take life. So you can do that. Remember, with the recording, you can hit those scenes or routes and have them start up at different times. So the AIU is simply a bank of relays that you'll be able to plug into. The TIU has an AIU input. It comes with a cable. Like I say, you can daisy chain. There's an output that you go to the next AIU to the next AIU, and you stack these up and you wire all your switch accessories. You can still keep all your buttons and all your switch handles. All you're doing is running this in series. So it's one or the other. Your switch mechanism will still work, so you don't have to rip it down your layout. You'll just have to get in there and cut the wire and run it through here also each wire. So that when you go on to the app is up here, switches, and then you go into the settings of the switches, and you'll name the route, and you'll activate that route here. So you call up a route, and it might be siding 1 in. I call that up and hit activate, and over here is independent switches. It'll name all your switches, and you want switch firehouse switch, hit that and hit the direction, and that's to do your switches. Up here is your accessories, same thing. You got on, activate, edit. You can add switches, and you can, or you can hit all, and all the accessories on your layout can start at one time. So you can still have that option, but once they're all loaded in here by name, just hit all, and everything on your layout starts up if you like to do it that way. Again, the scenes, you got, here's your scenes. You call up the scene, you hit activate, or you hit on, off, and it'll go on and off. Last place is more. This is where you got advanced features like record and playback. That's where you're going to set up those recordings that I was talking about. Import, export. You can go get sound files off the internet, import them into an engine. So you can change the sound files in the engines. You can actually hook this up to your computer, store the sound files on your computer, and import the sound files back into the engine, or export them out to your computer and import them back into the engines. You can recover engines here for some reason. It doesn't happen very often, but there's a mechanism to recover an engine. You can go back to all the settings, back to the factory reset. You got updates. This is where you're going to do, one of the things is hide e-stop. So if you don't want the emergency stop button, you can turn that right now. This one's set up to do that, because what happens is if a child gets there, he always hits that emergency stop, or you maybe once in a while touch it and you didn't mean to touch it, and all the power goes off. You got to turn the power back on your layout. So I got it turned off. You can you got TIU settings. This is where we're going to change the address of your TIUs, your firmware. This is where you're going to update with the new TIU. You'll be able to update right off the internet versus hooking it up to the computer. In this also, this is where you hit your upgrade. I told you to buy the $25. If you haven't yet, you'll do that. There's news. There's searches for products. You can put in product numbers and it goes to our website, catalogs, videos, parts and sales. I got to give a shout out to, we have a business. It's MTH Parts and Sales. It's a separate business. I'm a third partner in that business. I still own MTH, the whole MTH, but this business I own a third of it. My brother-in-law, who's been working with me since the beginning, he owns a third, and Mike Reagan, I don't know if anybody knows him, but he used to work for Lionel and set up their parts website and parts department, and he's our partner, and he's working on, we had boxes and boxes of parts. I mean, I can't tell you how many pallets of parts and boxes that we used to get with all of the production runs, but we never did anything with them. They just sat on shelves, and now they're going through them. They're going through them every day, every week. They're going through these boxes, getting the parts, taking photos of the parts, doing exploded views of the engines, showing all the parts, and then having them online. So you'll be able to go either through the app and just go to, when you hit this, you'll go to the MTH. If I was connected to the internet, which I'm not, I'd be able to go to the MTH parts service thing, put in the item number of my thing, and see all the parts and order parts right from the app. Or you can go to the website, or we got a new website coming out. Finally, one is much faster than this website. This website we have now is the worst thing. I can't take it anymore. But 2 or 3 weeks, we should have the new website out. It'll search for the products much quicker. It's going to have a support tab in there that will have a button that you can go to the exploded view, and it'll take you to the parts site and see the exploded view or the parts list. And you can go, after you see what number on the exploded view the part is, you go to on the website, the MTH website, you can go to the parts list and order the parts right there online, whatever you're looking for, whether it's rubber tires, smoke units. You know, we got upgrade kits are available through the parts business.
Does it link to videos at all? Because I did that with Avastar on certain repairs that were hard. We said, you know, we could sell the part, and we'd say, click here for a video,
Yes.
and then the video.
We have
would show you how
videos
to
on
do it.
how to change the wick in your smoke. There's you know, help videos that we have. There's one for the Wi-Fi system. So yeah, you have, and there is a video section here.
Okay.
So you'll be able to go there and get those. And you can do that now if you have the app. You got newsletter sign up. And look, a lot of people thought we were out of business. We never went out of business. We could have almost, but I I was starting to sell off some of the tooling. I sold some tools to Lionel. I sold some tools to Atlas, and that was my direction. And they gave all the employees, let them know that I was retiring, and they had a year to go out and find other jobs. And ended up 4 of them tried to get jobs at Lionel, and then Lionel said no, that they were paid too much and it would mess up their. So they came back to me and they said, look, we think we can keep running this business. And I said, fine, if you can make me as much money as I'm making, the percentage I'm making in the stock market, I'll keep doing that. And I don't want any inventory. I want it to be small, custom runs, doing custom runs. And so I started doing it in that direction with them. So I still always owned the company, and we kept making things. We're making a lot. You got a lot of custom runs items here that Berwyn's is the only place you can get them at. And a lot of these dealers are like Berwyn's is buying and building custom things of the things around you. We would never have built those engines and those road names because they're too localized for you. We're into Pennsylvania, Norfolk Southern, Union Pacific, ones that are big railroads. So you find out about those, on their mailing list, find out about the local stuff, or our newsletter. We also send out newsletters with their custom items and different things in our newsletter. So join the newsletter and you'll see all the items we make. We used to make 2 catalogs or 3 catalogs at one point a year. Now it's almost every week we come out with whether it's a freight car, a diesel engine, steam engine, and you'll see. I'm sorry, that's that firehouse here. and
The emergency stop.
you don't stop that.
You got it.
Oh, good. So, and then I just my new son-in-law, as of in May, married my only daughter, and so Bradley's come to work for me, and eventually we'll be taking over the company. So because I'm getting too old, but anyway, but I'll be still owning it. I'll still be involved in it until I'm dead. As far as what we're doing, we're starting out to build new tools. We're bringing back standard gauge because I love standard gauge. And so we're going to have a 400E. It's going to be the first item that we're going to do. And so we also the monorail, we already advertised that, so that's actually the first item. But then the 400E will be coming, and then we'll start making cars again. So we're doing that. We just invested in a new, we haven't announced it yet, but a new G gauge item. So if anybody's into G gauge, there's going to be a new engine, a great engine that's coming there. It's almost ready to be advertised. We're making new tools for O-scale engines. We got 4 right now. We're looking at 2 more shortly after that. So we're investing in new tooling. We're coming up with new ideas. I got a new trash truck, and it won't be painted like this. It's going to be painted white and have a little Trump figure in there, and you'll be able to push it, and you'll hear Donald Trump's talking about how you like my garbage truck, and so we're going to have cars like that. So I'm doing a little bit more, having a little bit more fun now that he's there. It's going to keep going, but so we are in business. Some people say we're not, but we still have been and still making stuff. And if anybody has any questions,
I got one question for somebody here. Someone came in with the envelope that had male employees on it. So if you,
I was just digging for it.
I can talk to you about that later. We're done.
Okay.
Hey, Larry got this for you. It's the direction for signals and stuff for you to run them again.
oh, okay.
Mike, any plans to do the steam that Lionel does on some of their engines, where the steam comes out the side and?
We're doing the whistle. Every steam engine, we're adding the whistle, and actually we're now making new tools and developed a new smoke unit that will be smaller, so that even the smallest engines that we've made, like the old time Empire, those kind of engines can have smoking whistles. And possibly in Rail King, then start moving that feature in Rail King. The one that goes down is like a terrible one if you're using it all the time because you're blowing oil on your track. And then your rubber tires start disintegrating. And then you start losing a digital signal. And then guys saying, I don't have a signal anymore. So we could do it, we have samples that we tested. Actually, the guy who does upgrades, there's a guy out there, I forgot his name. He used to work for me for years in the service department. He started his own business. He's at York all the time, and
Is that John Nestro?
No,
different guy.
I recognize the name of it just off the top of my head. I'm getting old. But if you can get any engine upgraded that way, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it on my layout. If I had it on my Christmas layout, you have oil all over it. The smoke is oil. It's just, you know, up in the air, and you'll know when you're using your smoke units on all the steam engines. You got to clean your track regularly. But when you're blowing it right down on the 2 rails and actually the 3 rails, and you're blowing it down, and when it goes down like that, more residue is directed right there versus in the air, and it's dropping all throughout the layout. And if you're doing that a lot, you're going to have digital signal problems, and I'd rather you not have that. So that feature, no, but additional features, we're constantly looking at, you know, how I got an R&D office still up in Michigan who just finished this, now is going to have more time to look at individual. We got ideas for individual features, you know, freight cars that can do digitally talk to things like our Coors Light. That was an idea of it. Type thing where the engine talks to the cars and the cars talk to the engine. There's a lot of things we can do. We have ideas to do. This has been taking all the time to get electronic components during COVID to keep building engines. Took a lot of time from my R&D guy, but now we got more time to start focusing on. He was involved in the whole website thing, so his time has been tied up, and he's got to finish up the app upgrades where you're going to play music, and he's got those cables he's come out, those things he's been working on. But once all that's cleaned up, we got a priority list for him to keep on developing new electronic software type based stuff. I want to be able to have this app, you know, every phone, every iPad has what in Apple they call it Home. I'm not sure what they call it in Android or Google, but they have it also where you can, you know, home automation that you talk to it, you know, turn your bedroom lights on, boop, all your lights come on. Well, there's no reason you can't do that with the train. So, you know, Union Pacific engine 44, you know, go 30 miles an hour, and it goes. So, you know, that's where it's ultimately going. You know, the whole AI thing, there's things that we have ideas that would be neat if you could, you know, gather that kind of information on your layout and positioning, global positioning. There's a lot of ideas that we can move to. So
What about battery power? So then you have to worry about tracks and digital signals on the track. Everything is done, you know, via Bluetooth or, you know.
Well, we have ideas for new train controls and also less expensive. I mean, when I say less, the electronics are getting cheaper and cheaper. Whether it's battery powered, you know, one thing about the battery power, you got to charge the things. Now you're going to charge, and then eventually battery's going to go dead. Anybody's got a Tesla, well, when that sucker goes bad, it's going to be an expensive.
Hopefully the batteries
venture.
aren't expensive as the Tesla battery.
We actually, the difference between Pro Sound 2 and Pro Sound 3 is we remove the battery. So just because it's a maintenance thing, and when it goes bad, the guy thinks his train died. If he doesn't know there's a battery in there, and they forget about the battery, and they forget about the charging and all that. So not to say everything's going to obviously be weighed what we can do, but you know, the electronics, and it's an exciting time, and we also want to keep costs down and figure out a way to so the prices don't continue to go up and up, because the cost of labor goes up, the cost of materials go up, you know, all that stuff goes up. And one of the areas that you can get cost out is the electronics. So if you can get it to be a different way of communicating than we communicate now to the train, you can save costs. So that's another area of the electronics that you may not see, and that we did here. You'll see this TIU is about the same prices that we did since 2004 when we came out the first TIU. Price hasn't gone up, you know, very, very much at all, and that's because the cost of the labor has, and the cost of the ocean freight has, and my labor and the R&D labor, you know, $400 an hour for an engineer to write the software and design the hardware and all that has continually go up.
You'll get the prices down just in time for the tariffs to go up.
It could be, but you know, I think that's more negotiated. We went through that before, and you know, it depends. If it can be made here, if it can be and is being made here and has, I think you're gonna look at it, it's gonna be a negotiation thing. I think that's a totally separate issue, but I think
Yeah,
you're gonna
I
find
need
it
to go
on
down.
mass-produced items that not, the toy industry.
You said that obviously you can't even make handhelds anymore because you can't get parts.
Right.
What about repairing them? So you can't fix them if something.
We
goes
have
wrong?
parts
Okay.
in our service area. You know, most of the thing goes back to the thumb wheel. We have thumb wheels and
Same thing with the old TI, the original TIUs. You could still
TIUs we do. Now, the very first TIUs didn't have fuses in them, okay? And we figured that out fast, but when the guy puts more than 10 amps in there, it blows the traces right off the
Yeah,
board.
yeah,
If that happens, TIU's gone, because you'll literally open it up and you'll see a big burn on the TIU. But with the fuse in it, you can change the fuse, so we haven't had, you know, hardly any problems with the TIUs after that.
Yeah, I got a question on first of all, thank you for being here and making that presentation for us, because it cleared up a lot of questions that I did have, but now it's referral mind. I'm starting to get ideas of how I'm going to make my layout to incorporate a lot of these things. So my question was, and I know I talked to the guys here before about it, but maybe you brought it up or maybe you didn't quite cover it. You say you could control Lionel, TMCC, and legacy engines with this, as long as it's connected to the base 3 through that cable, through the WTIU to the cable. I'm already recording it, so I'm just gonna be able to go back over the recording and look at it again. Am I gonna be able to do like one HO? Am I gonna be able to do true consisting with a Lionel make and an MTH make? Am I gonna be able to speed match on a consistent?
Well, the speed match is not. You're not going to be able to, because whatever their speed is set at, and their speed control is based on whatever their. I'm not sure.
Gearing, line drive, direct drive, that changes your ratio.
Yeah, I mean, our speed control is the most accurate speed control. It's a little bit more expensive to make, but we actually have a tach reader on the flywheel, and so we know the exact revolution of the motor, and it knows its gear ratio of that, and all that's programmed in a spreadsheet and then put into the software for each engine. Lionel does it differently, and so the speed, for us to control the speed, now they're pretty close, and you can put a Lionel engine in a consist with an MTH engine. The problem is the MTH engine might be pulling it a little bit or pushing it a little bit, or the Lionel engine might be pushing it or pulling it. You're not going to see a huge difference, and I've seen it done. I don't know which one's pushing and pulling at that point, but as far as an engine and setting it up, you can, when you're talking to a Lionel and you're setting up a lash up, and you pull up the Lionel engine, Lionel has lash up too. And all we're doing is using their code, telling this to say, hey, we're setting up a lash up in the Lionel terms, and what they're communicating, and you use it as a head engine and you use it as this, but we can't control their speed. That's the only thing you'll see varied if you run it with a lash up in Lionel. And that's just a mechanical and the way the two systems are designed.
So then if we really wanted to dig into it, then that would be on the individual to try to dig into it as
Just
much as possible.
sell all your Lionel engines and buy MTH.
So I need to go back to the Lionel. So I'm 2 months from building my system, so I do need a base 3 in order to run both legacy and the.
Yeah, it can be the base 3 or any of their bases. I mean,
Right.
when I say the old TMCC, it'll work with that. So whichever, if you want the
I don't have anything.
I've heard that with the 3, some of their stuff, some of the other accessories are, whether, I don't remember with the switch or whatever. A customer was telling me that it didn't work with that anymore. So I don't know which one of the Lionels, but all the Lionel systems, all we're doing is connecting into their computer port and
that's that
setting their
cable.
commands. Correct.
That's the cable.
That's the command, and there's going to be one more cable you're going to need to buy that's not out today.
Okay.
So you'll need that cable to a little pigtail cable that will then connect to the TIU and then to this old Lionel TMCC cable.
Is there a schematic you can make your own, or?
It's funny. They have RS-232 standard cables in the marketplace that you can go on to Amazon and buy, but they're cheap. But they changed the pinout of their cable, so inside here, it's pinned out, and you gotta, the one side and the other side has gotta be exactly the same. Ours is pinned out as a standard computer cable, so we had to swap the wires on their side. That's why if you buy one of these cables, it'll tell you this side must be plugged into the line L and this side's plugged into the MTH. Ours is so we can update it with computer, so it's a standard pin out for the RS-232 when the computers had that, but now it's going to USB, and so you'll need this adapter cable to go to the USB.
So if I have multiple TIUs in a setup, right, I'm assuming the new WIU unit won't work in Super TIU in an old unit?
Now you have to, the WTIU, you have to get one of these for every old TIU.
If I want it to work with a new one.
Well, with the new, it'll work with the new one if you have this working with the old one.
Right.
So you can buy, if you have 3 old TIUs with 3 of these, you can buy a new TIU and call it 4 and it'll work the same.
And it'll mesh fine.
That'll mesh fine. Like I say, everything in this and most of the software and everything was ported over, and some of the common electronics, we only needed once, so we saved some money by putting this inside this. And that's...
And then you said this needs to power up before the tracks now. So how long should that be powered up before you apply power to your rails?
It's like a minute or two. You'll see the LED lights on the, there's a whole bank of LED lights that are not on top of this one that for each output, and it'll tell you when it's ready.
Right, because I'm just thinking of people that run with, power bricks where they turn on immediately. It's going to be an issue now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, or you can leave this powered on. I mean,
Okay.
it's not going to hurt it. Just it's all you're doing is powering the microprocessor inside here and your LED, so it's not going to hurt it.
Okay.
But if you don't like that to do that, then just plug that thing in or put that on a switch and turn that on, let it power up, and then turn your lay on. It's just one of those things to do to go out
and for those that draw more than 10 amps at a time, for whatever reason, can these still be wired passively, or is that no
you
more?
can still be wired passive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
It'll blink white when it's kicking on, and then you'll hear a click, and they'll all go green. And then when you apply power to the track, it'll go purple. So then you'll know exactly. So it communicates with you very well.
And the new cables, the TMCC cable, and going to, whether it's going to the remote, it'll be, I think it's purple for MTH and orange for line L, which ones you're communicating with.
And you said right now it doesn't do DCC.
No.
Is that something you're thinking
You can run
programming later?
Actually, with the new TIU, you can run pass through DCC. The old TIU you can't.
Okay.
You'll blow it up. So if you had, there was never a purpose for it because it was on DC.
Right.
So now you can pass through these channels with the new TIU DCC. So if you're running an HO, it's kind of like you're not going to be able to use the app to run your HO DCC. Not yet. That's one of the things I want to work on is if I can get this thing, it's really not for you guys in the O gauge, but if anybody's in HO and ever ran a DCC system with function F1 for startup and F3 I think is for the horn, and I can't even remember all the F this and F that. I like that they used the right and left, but it was back in in the 70s, and it was great technology, cutting edge technology for the 70s, but not today. So that's why Model Railroader has surveyed. They survey like every 3 or 4 years, and they used to send it out to all the subscribers of the surveys that they got from the consumers, and it's always been like only 20% of the HO modelers actually use DCC. And then when you go and dive into those guys, all they do is start it up and use the speed and the horn and the bell because that's all they can remember. I challenge anyone to try to change the address of a DCC engine unless they're an expert in that. But a new guy getting a new DCC system, say, go ahead and change the address. It'd take him all day to try and get so frustrated to figure out he'd quit before that. Now, if with this app and your phone, you'll simply go to a change address. It has a wheel, like a virtual wheel that you scroll up and find 32, hit that, and you change the address. It's done. And with this, anybody will then be able to run digitally an HO engine or G gauge engine or O scale 2-rail engine with DCC, and it'll be as easy to run as this, which is much easier than any DCC system out there.
So that F1 and F2, that's all directly off Cobalt, that mainframe.
Yeah.
It's the mainframe.
Right. But they didn't, even the controllers don't say horn. It should just say horn, not F3. I get so frustrated when I was, how does it, you know, if I was making a DCC system from the start, I wouldn't, okay, that's what they are, F1, but you don't have to say that. It's startup, bell, whistle, you know, try to make it a little easier for them.
You can do an engine reset on that, obviously, too, like you've been.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So again, you can, if you don't have one on order already, you can order the WTIU. We'll have them in 2 weeks. He just sold out of these, so if you want to order those, he can have those in a few days. We have these in stock at MTH. We also have the TMCC cables. We also have the AIUs. You can order those here, and they can have those for you. So, you know, whatever. If you have any other questions, we're going to be here till 3 o'clock, and let me know.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.